I'm here with Richard Launius, the inventor of my favorite game of all time, Arkham Horror, who has another game here at Origins, Ace Detective from 8th Summit. Richard, so I'm going to be reviewing this game because I just picked up a copy. I couldn't resist. I had to get it. It looks great, but I was wondering if you could give me an overview here.
Sure, I'll be glad to. Okay, basically it's a storytelling game set in the 1940s, detective noir, and it's more of an entertainment type of game than just a game, because the story is really all the enjoyment of being able to tell the right story. However, there is a game underlying it where there will be ultimately a winner, and the winner will get to do the final summation in the drawing room. The ever popular Sherlock Holmes or the detective standing there saying, well, let me tell you how this all went down.
Okay.
So basically you have a path here, and it's going to show you the number of players, okay? So basically the game will end, if two of us are playing, the game will end when we get to 13. When 13 clues get placed out on the suspects, the game would end. With 3 it'd be 15, with 4 it'd be 18, with 5 it'd be 20. And so that will start right there. These are plot points, basically the currency of the game. These are what you buy cards with, these are what you pay for special effects, these are what you pay to put clues in play.
Okay.
And you have a large number of crimes. You have 16. They're numbered on the back, and they're also dated, and they have the key information, and they also have an icon, which is a special reward during the game. When you play this type of card, in this case it's a mood or atmosphere card, you would get a plot point. So people can refer to this to get the key information, and of course it's got the murder, on the front. But what I'm setting up just to show you right now, for example, is Murder at Midnight, which is the very first card that you would play, and it occurs at January 1st, 1941. And it basically says, the night of the gala party is San Francisco's most elite country club. The band is swinging, the dance floor is hopping, but when the clock strikes midnight, and one prestigious gala member, Dr. Martin Daniels, is found dead on the patio, all signs point to murder. So it gives you the setup, and it tells you who you put out. Now this is optional, but in this case it's telling you the wealthy collector. Let me see if I can find him here. Powerful politician, the French diplomat, the wealthy collector, and the beautiful heiress. These are the 4 main suspects, and one of them will be the guilty party that the players will control and drive in the story. Max Bullet, and we can choose from a number of investigators. We've got, I don't think I have them out, but we've got a mystery writer, we've got a journalist, we've got another detective on the squad. He happens to be a private detective. And he has a special ability that's triggered when this is played. It's optional if the players want to. But the back gives you the key information about him for your storytelling. He's an ex-cop with friends and some enemies on the force. He's, when danger's present, he presents itself, he becomes reckless with his own life. He prefers to date married women. He's volatile relationship with his ex-wife, probably because he dates married women. And he drinks too much, yet he's charming and likable. He's broke, he barely manages to pay the bills each month. So that's all for storytelling flavor for the player.
Well, so my friends are like that.
Yeah, isn't that the way it goes? So every player is going to get 4 story cards at the start of the turn, the start of the game. They're going to get 1 clue card. They can hold a maximum of 5 story cards and up to 2 clue cards.
Okay.
They also have a set of clues. Everybody has their own colored set. These also, for those of you that are colorblind, they've got symbols on the back, so you can use the symbols instead, because we want to make sure we covered that. But these come in different ratings. So you got a +1, a +2, you've got a -2, okay? So you got and a -1. So you've got these combinations. At the start of the game, you're going to get your +2, you're going to get a +1, and you're going to get a -1. So the rest of them get shuffled up into a small draw pile for you. You don't get to see them. You can always refer to these, and you'll keep these face down so the other players don't know what you've got.
Right, okay.
The start of the game, and you can speed the game up. You're also going to start with 3 plot points. If you want to play a faster game, start with 5 plot points. It'll let you play things faster. But you'll get 3 plot points to spend with, and you'll have a hand of cards, so you'll see your hand of cards. That shows story cards and then clue cards. Now,
I love the artwork.
Yeah, the artwork's from Black Mass Magazine, and it's really, really pretty.
Oh, this is
The different story cards, we'll just put these down. This is atmosphere or mood, okay? So the large camera represents that. This is action or danger. This is wild. There's not a lot of wild cards in the game, but you'll notice it requires you to pay 3 plot points to actually play this card. Wild can be played onto anything, so that's the only reason we call it wild. Let me find the others. There are people, represented by the people icon, and there are locations, okay? So, now here's one of my favorite locations, the lobby. So, as the way the game is played, the first player actually gets to can play anything. They are not restricted. They're not restricted in any way, shape, or form. So if I was the first player of the game and I had these cards, let's put my clue card in here. I get to start it off. And ideally, you can play the card a number of different ways. When you play a card, you're going to tell a story. In the story, at the most basic level, you would use one or more of the words that's written on the card. But the more advanced players you are, the more advanced the storytelling becomes. You don't have to use any of the words on here. You can simply use anything in the picture as you're telling your story. I've noticed when I'm demo with role players, by about 5 minutes into the game, nobody's using the words anymore with that group. They just totally go off and tell their own stories. Now, one other thing that I didn't talk about are the narration cards. Narration cards are a unique feature of the game because these are real quotes from real games. Real books. Movies, stories out of Black Mass Magazine. This one here, for example, is Raymond Chandler from the book Goldfish. And it basically, you can see it's got a mood icon on it. It's got 2 cubes, which in the book says that's take 2 plot points. And it's got a quote. I wasn't doing any work that day, just catching up on my foot dangling. And the way this card is played is when when a mood card is in play, you can play this on any of the last 2 cards. I think the rules say the last card, but I've kind of expanded it since then. I'll do an update on BGG. The last 2 cards, it kind of lets you play more of them. Players like you, so you work it into the story. So let's just say this is the last card in the chain. It doesn't matter whether I played this or the person before played this. I've got this card in my hand, and I could say something like, you know, the wind is blowing hard. I was sitting in my office watching the raindrops fall down. I was thinking a little about the case, but mostly I wasn't doing any work that day, just catching up on my foot dangling. And you throw that down there, you get your 2 plot points as your reward. And it gives you different rewards. This lets you look at a clue somebody's played. This one lets you draw a story card. This lets you flip over somebody's clue so you know if it's a positive or negative, and so on and so forth. So you get different things out of it. You always get a new narration card after you play one. You can only play 1 per turn, and it doesn't count as a card played. So it's a free card play for you as far as that's concerned. On your turn, you can play 2 cards normally, and you can pay 4 plot points if you want to play an extra card. The start of the game would start with us placing some clue tokens out onto the characters. I'll just throw some out there. Everybody would place 1 of the 3 that they drew to start with. So when you start the game, if you were playing for example, a 4-player, let's say a 3-player game, it might look like that. If you want to play a quicker game, everybody would take a second round and with a rule that they couldn't place it on the same one, would take a second round and place one more token. Okay, so that means we would be setting at 6, only needing in a 3-player game 15 to end the game. So it'd be 9 that would get placed. So we start the game out, and I say, you know, I showed up at the country club, and I stood down in the plush lobby for an hour waiting for somebody to let me in to see the place of the crime. They didn't let gumshoes like me in that much, and I wasn't expecting to get too much cooperation out of any of these rich bigwigs. So you tell a story, something like that. Now what this tells me now is my next card can be a person, action, or another place. And whether I choose to play again or pass, the next card has to be one of those 3 that can be played.
Okay, so you get the option first.
I get the option
Or you
first.
can pass.
Right. I can play 2 cards. Now, if I choose not to play again, I'm going to collect 5 plot points at the end of my turn.
Okay.
I'm going to buy whatever I want to buy, and the next person takes a turn. But let's say, since it's a demo, let's say I take a chance. I happen to be lucky enough to have what's called a lucky break card, which is a wild card in my hand.
Right.
So I play, but as luck would have it, I found one of the waiters who was willing to let me into the area, and I managed to sneak onto the patio where the murder took place. I noticed a couple of cops who don't like me back there, but they were busy on the other corner, so I started looking around. This was a lucky break for me. I have to pay 3 points to do that, which is all I have, and I roll a die. Luck would have it, it didn't pay off. If I'd have rolled a 4+, I would have got to place one of mine on a random suspect.
Ah, okay.
And the way you do a random suspect is you roll a die, and it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. It would go on to her.
Okay.
Now that we're in gameplay, I would trigger this effect when I do that. So if, let's say I made my roll and it went on to her, it triggers her effect, which says, when a clue token is placed on the beautiful heiress, the player may discard 2 plot tokens from any player. So it actually lets you kind of affect somebody else that way. That's optional, so I don't have to do it. I wouldn't do it if I don't want to, so that's that. So the bottom line is, that's the end of my turn. I'm going to get 5 plot points, and I say, I want to buy 2 story cards. So I would pay the 2 points for that. I would buy my 2 story cards, and it would go on to the next person. So as the course of the game goes on, we're going to place more and more clue tokens out here.
Now when it gets to that amount, does it end immediately?
There's a first player token, which is this Pinkerton badge.
Okay.
So if I end it right here, it would play all the way back to me and I wouldn't get another turn. So everybody else would still get to play their turn and get a card out. All right, we're at the end of the game, and let's say these are the clues that got played over the course of the game. When I put cards in discard pile, I put the clues that were played up here, I put the story cards over here.
Right.
And now we flip these over. And what we discover as we flip these over is the values that are on them. All right, this guy is a -4. There is no way he committed the crime. This guy is a 0. This one right here is a +3. The wealthy collector's looking pretty guilty. But this one here is also a +3. Okay, because that one cancels out. So we have a tied situation.
Mm-hmm.
So now we look around and see who has the most total on them. It's him. So since he has the most total on him, total tokens, he's the guilty party.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So it's not her. Now we turn these back over and we say green has the most on there. Green is the winner.
Huh.
And if it's a tie, let's say we had this situation, then it would be whoever has the most plot points left over is the winner. So let's say I'm
So
green.
there's no knife fighting involved.
No. So let's say
okay.
I'm green. So I pick up the cards here, and I get awarded with the ever popular. I got the commissioner in here. I got the mayor because he was interested, and I've got all the local people, and I'm going to break this thing down for you. The story turned around when I snuck into the back patio to start with. I found a cigarette butt that was left aside. It was a strange brand of cigarette that I only knew one man in town who used that cigarette, and that led me in the right direction. Sooner or later, I had to figure out what was going on, why he was even at the party. That came out when I found some information scripted on the back end of some matches that I found at his office. It appears he had been tied to a couple of other people, and there was an item he expected to buy from this doctor. The doctor refused to sell. He collects one way or the other, and this time he collected through that man's death. Murder's always the same, and the price he pays is going to be high. And that's how you do it.
Nice. Very nice. It's cool.
You'll never tell the same story. In a game, even with 5 players, you won't even go halfway through the story deck. And of course, you get the Strange Tales expansion. Then you can expand it into Strange Tales type stuff, because these guys all have a secret. You actually pick a theme before you start. You can pick the vampire, and you'll take the vampire secret card and 4 I've got no secret cards. You shuffle them up and you put them under these. Everybody knows we're telling a vampire story. It may turn out nobody's a vampire. You also get an extra token with this group, which will be a stake. Okay. So as you put your tokens down on the guys in the Strange Tales, let's say I've got 2 tokens on him now. I roll the die. One, if it's equal or less than the clues I got in him, I can look and see, and I discover, oh, he's the vampire. So now I decide I'm going to put my stake on him. Nobody else knows I've staked him. Okay. But let's say nobody does stake him. At the end of the game, before we even do any of this, we flip over the secrets. We discover he's the vampire, and it says when the vampire is revealed, unless he's staked, he will kill the 2 people beside him. So if you had a bunch of tokens on them, they're gone.
Wow.
And the staking him's worth 5 points.
Oh, that's interesting.
So, yeah, the Strange Tales is very interesting. It introduces, you take some cards out of this deck, you put new cards into the story deck. It introduces some more characters. You've got the Wanderer, you've got the Witchy Woman, you've got the half-crazed scientist. You know, so you've got a whole new group of characters that come into it. And we give you a couple new crimes, okay, which are more mystery-based. So you can play 16 different crimes here, and I think we've got 3 or so more in the Strange Tales.
So will Cthulhu show up at any time in the future?
He can. There's a cultist you can have a cultist as one of the secrets who's trying to actually, you build the story. The last time we played it, he was actually trying to create a cult that would summon a great old one, and he was going to feed the rest of the town to him. So,
really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so great.
That was just the story we crafted. Everybody crafted
it's nice to have that flexibility, you know?
Right. And then we also, there's an alien who can look human, the pod people type thing. And there's items appear in that one, which is different than this. So items can get played onto anything, and one of the items is a time machine, that can be put in play. Or an alien, it's time machine or alien device or spaceship. So you can make it whatever you want to in your story. Or you can ignore all that, look at the picture, and call it whatever you want. So that's how it's done. You have a plot point purchase. You do have a rating system. If you're very competitive and want to use a rating system, there's a rating system in here. But to be honest with you, I really don't ever play with the rating. I like playing with people that just want to tell good stories. So ratings just slow us down.
Yeah.
So we just play the basic. Everybody gets 5 plot points at the end. But the rating system does keep people honest that really just want to throw down a card, get their clues out. Makes them actually tell some.
Makes them actually tell. Well, that's good. Yeah.
That's it.
Great. Richard, thanks for giving me this overview. I can't wait to actually get back and play it.
I was glad to do it. Thank you. Appreciate it.